Hello and welcome to today's episode of Velocity Kinetics. I had previously recorded a intro slate for this, but my phone's microphone didn't work. Well, I had my headset plugged into it and it didn't record, so lost the magic. Not that I think there was very much magic in there anyway. But today we're doing a how to drive episode, and then we're looking at mobile phone usage. So let's get cracking, shall we? Now, mobile phone usage in the UK whilst driving is completely illegal now. Used to be a case that it wasn't when mobile phones were new, where before texting became a thing, you could drive along with your phone up against your ear, even when there were the old style, they're called feature phones, I think is what they're called, were quite small, and you could do all that as you went. And all those phones could do was make a call, receive a call, and send and receive a text. Obviously, over time, those laws got tightened up. Things like Bluetooth headsets became an idea to use. Cars eventually got Bluetooth to be able to answer the phone through the dashboard. Even for a while, there was a novelty, and it did apparently pass all the legal perspectives. I remember from an early episode of Top Gear, where they had a hands-free kit that was this piece of I can't think what it's called, the receiver of a landline phone with a curly wire down to your mobile phone. Apparently that somehow met all the hands-free criteria, because you were driving along like that, which, I mean, it's weird that it did, but there we are. Obviously now, as phones have become smart, and I'll put that in quotation marks because really whatever technology you're using is only as smart as the user using it. It has led to the UK having to fine people and make it illegal for using mobile phones as you drive. And now with this whole people making careers out of streaming everything, filming everything, basically you can run your entire life from an idiot box, from a mobile phone. The devices are insane. Especially, I know people might go, "What are you talking about?" If you think about it, from where we were when mobile phones first sort of became popularised, the sort of late 90s, early 2000s, to where we are now in a very short space of time, it's quite a technological leap. And there've been many different ways to do it. So you've obviously got your Apple Android. There was Windows Phone. I had an Ubuntu phone. I still actually do have an Ubuntu phone, and I do still have a Windows Phone actually, Windows 10 phone, which I thought was actually quite a good piece of kit. But why we're doing the how to drive, Sarah was telling me that her driving instructor has said that he's noticed, and he's had to tell students off multiple times, that as soon as they bring the car to a stop, so the phone's like in their pocket or something here, as soon as they bring the car to a stop, and then they're off again. That is quite alarming, and it's not just, whilst it sounds like a comment directed at particularly younger people, which would be what, a Gen Alpha or Gen Z, I have no bloody clue. I can't keep up with what the correct term is. I just know if I use the wrong one, people will need a safe space. But using this device in virtually any capacity whilst driving is illegal. Now, I was looking through, and I cannot find where it is at the moment. I have a little, from when I was in the police, when I was in Middlesbrough as a special constable, I had a book called Points to Prove, and I cannot find it. But I do, as I recall, there was a section in there about what you need to prove for mobile phone usage whilst driving, because it was to do with issuing a ticket. Unfortunately, my IL4SC book, although I think that version is like 0.4, it's a 2010 version of the book, doesn't have that in. It's got things for issuing tickets and Horty and VDRS, but nothing around mobile phone usage. So, proving how useful these devices are and how powerful they are. So on the UK Gov website, I know that's probably gone out of focus, but I'm not sure how or whether this camera will actually auto refocus if I fiddled around with it. So it's a section called using a phone, sat-nav or other device while driving. So I'm just going to read through as clearly and concisely as I can. It is illegal to hold and use a phone, sat-nav, tablet or any device that can send or receive data while driving or riding a motorcycle. This means you must not use your device in your hand for any reason, whether online or offline. For example, you must not text, make calls, take photos or videos, or browse the web. The law still applies if you're stopped at traffic lights, queuing in traffic, supervising a learner, driving a car that turns off the engine when you stop moving, holding and using a device that's offline or in flight mode. So let's break that down. Stopped at traffic lights. There is a misconception. I had an argument with a girl I used to work with when I worked for Santander, because she was terrible for posting selfies when the car was stopped in traffic. I was in the lane next to her once, gesticulating to put it down, because I happened to know that we were meant to be doing, I can't remember what, for a group of specials they were doing something traffic related. It might have been drink stops, but it's sort of a look, I'm trying to help you here, because I know if one of my supervisors, if he spotted someone doing that, he'd have pulled them for me to, practice issuing tickets and things, and learning and remembering my points to prove. So when you're stopped at traffic lights, even if you're handbrake on, out of gear, or in park, or using hold mode, you can't touch your phone. So people need to realise and pack that in. You're in control of a motor vehicle at that point. Queuing in traffic is another good one. You might be sat there for an age and a half, especially if it's been a big shunt, and probably the M25 is a good example of that. And I know the A1M going up north, somewhere around Doncaster, they've put, it's been a while since I've been up there, but the last time I had to go up there, they had contraflows in place, which, because people couldn't do merge and turn, it was then meaning that queues started to form. Supervising a learner driver, so you'll never see, or you should never see, driving a school car, the instructor on his phone at all. Should never see that, because you are in control of the motor vehicle. Even though there's someone in the driver's seat, you are in control of the motor vehicle. Driving car that turns off engine when you stop moving, so if you've got stop-start, it doesn't matter. It's because, again, you are in control of a motor vehicle. Or holding a device that's offline or in flight mode. So you might go, yeah, it's alright, it's in airplane mode. It doesn't bloody matter if it's in airplane mode, because you can still use it to do things other than send and receive calls when it's in airplane mode. You can still play games on it, you can still distract yourself with it. So you can use your device hands-free though. So you can use devices with hands-free access as long as you do not have to hold them at any time during usage. Hands-free access means using things, for example, a Bluetooth headset, voice command, a dashboard holder or mat, windscreen mount or built-in sat-nav. The device must not block your view of the road and traffic ahead. Now this is another thing I've seen now, particularly, I know it might sound horrible to hate on borough taxi drivers, because I appreciate they drive like absolute menaces, but I appreciate at the same time the guys have got a job to do, and it's the same pretty much with most taxi drivers, but they're terrible. So if they were here, their phone would be mounted here, arguably starting to block their view. That's where things like quad locks that actually put them sort of there is a better move. Voice command can be difficult, especially with background noise, especially if you're driving. Windscreen mount is again, things like quad locks, they're not too bad. You must stay. The big thing around all this is you must stay in full control of your vehicle at all times. Police can stop you for driving if they think you're distracted. The only exception for using your mobile whilst driving is to dial 999 or 112 in a genuine emergency, when it is unsafe or impractical to stop. So, for example, that near-miss shunt I had on the M25 November last year, if it wasn't near-miss and I'd completely shunted, the outside lane would have been permitted to call, because it wouldn't have been safe to stop on the outside lane, in the outside line of a live motorway. That's not advised. But if there was no genuine reason to do it, then obviously you shouldn't be doing that. So i.e. that's the one time you're like 999. But if you've got it on the dashboard or anything, The Swace, I know you can. There's a couple of buttons you press. I can't remember what they are off the top of my head, but it brings up the effect. Essentially, the phone keypad on that screen. You can dial and go. But what annoys me is this law has been around for years. With when it comes to mobile phone usage and driving, it is not like it is a new law. It is not like they have made tiny tweaks to it that have given you loopholes on for a technicality. Just don't use your phone. It's one of these things for me. It's like I don't understand how hard it is just to not use your phone. If your life is so busy that you cannot not text and drive, so you must text. You've got a message that you must answer. You need to get your fucking priorities straightened out. I don't understand why people still do, and then people like doing selfies as they drive, streaming themselves to Facebook and YouTube as they drive, even if their phone is mounted. So when I've done the Swacecast videos, I've got my GoPro mounted on the suction cup mounting over there. Arguably, because the phone is sending and receiving data, if you were to stream, even if I use my phone for that, I'd be in trouble. A lot of it stems around when you are classed as in control of a motor vehicle. Now, sure, most people go, well, surely you just mean in the driver's seat. No, you can be classed as in control of a motor vehicle from any seat in the car. Granted, depending on the situation, that could be hard to define, but it is possible. One of the examples one of my trainers gave us for this is that, and they had this situation where the person in the driver's seat was driving along with their hands and feet. No, they weren't. The other way around. The passenger what drew their attention is the fact the passenger had the hands and feet out the window. The driver was doing the gas and brake. The person with their hands and feet out the window was steering the car. So they were both classified as in control of a motor vehicle. It's hence why, even though you might be a learner and you think you're in control of the motor vehicle, your instructor is also in control of the motor vehicle. And then before you go on about what is a motor vehicle, that's what is classed as GOPEDs. So that is gas, oil, diesel, electrical, steam powered. With the improvements in camera technology, and a couple of forces are now pushing to use AI as part of this drive, it's going to become easier to catch people on their phone. If more and more people have great uptake on things like dash cams, you'll be easily recorded and reported for anything. So if you're clearly using your phone in that video, then you can be reported for it. But what annoys me with a lot of this is when they do get pulled over for using their phone whilst driving, there's a whole, haven't you got any real fucking crimes to solve? Like, you've broken the law, you have committed a crime, and I have seen you, or whoever it is, well, I would have said I've seen you when I was with Cleveland. A police officer would be able to say, but I've seen you just break the law. So, a cheeky 2-second glance, the amount of distance, if you're using your car whilst on the move, the amount of distance you can travel in that time is alarming. If you're not paying attention to how fast your car is building speed, you could have easily built up 10-15 miles an hour in that time. And then we're not talking about being in anything sporty or performance based. In 5 seconds, my Swace could easily, at 60 miles an hour, go from 60 to 65 in those 10 seconds. If it's in sport mode with where the throttle is a lot more responsive, I could probably get all the way up to 70. Suddenly, you're dealing with different margins, you're dealing with different levels of injuries, you're dealing with different impact scenarios. It is alarming when you start thinking about it logically. But most people don't seem to think about it logically. Most people seem to think it's okay to have a cheeky flick at their phone or tablet, because there have been cases where people have been using bloody iPads and Samsung Galaxy tablets on the move. I find it staggering that's possible. I don't think the penalty is harsh enough. You can get up to 6 points on your licence for it, and there are fines. So, I believe you can have up to 12 points on your licence. So, if I remember my stuff correctly without going back to my phone, so you only need to be caught 3 times and you're banned. If you're caught using your mobile when you've just passed your test within the first 2 years, it can just go straight to having your licence taken away from you. No points, no fine. you can just go straight to, right, your licence is gone. And with how hyper-connected we have to be now in our lives, and how everyone expects an near instantaneous response to everything, whether you're talking a WhatsApp message or whatever messaging app you're using, whether you're talking from selling things, if you do things on eBay, Vinted, etc. It leads a lot of people to be to expect responses. People feel pressured to respond. I've had to, a few times on my lunch break at work, had to respond to Teams messages whilst out at lunch. I don't actually get a full clear lunch break. I'm usually batting Teams messages around as I'm having my lunch. And that's not just for people who work remote like myself. It's work, even if you're in the office, they want instantaneous replies. If you're out in the field, they want instantaneous replies. So don't get me wrong, I don't disagree with why people still use the phone, as in I don't agree with their logic. I agree as in, or rather I don't agree with the action, but I agree with how the circumstances may line up that they've inadvertently found themselves having to do that. But there are also just plenty of pig ignorant people. I've nearly been rear-ended several times recently because of people using their phone. So this really important episode of How to Drive is quite simple. Don't use your bloody mobile phone or tablet or whatever weird and wonderful device you want to use whilst driving. It's not worth the points, it's not worth the fine, it's not worth the damage you may cause if you're just having a gentle bump. It's not worth the write-off if you have a far bigger shunt that massively damages the car. It is not worth the injury, it is not worth the death that could come as a side effect from it. Well-documented case up in, I believe it was up in Middlesbrough, or certainly if it was not Middlesbrough itself, it was on the roads surrounding Middlesbrough, the A19/A66. Lorry driver on his phone, not paying attention, didn't see the cars ahead, do an emergency stop, went slap bang into the car ahead at full lorry speed, which is what, 56 miles an hour off the top of my head. People in the car immediately ahead that he rammed into didn't survive. Killed 2 people. The man, he's been on, is it Motorway Cops? I think did a video with him as part of one of their programs, and the man feels immensely guilty and is very upset by it all, even now. But there we are. And let's not forget, we're not talking about, even if you went back 10, 20 years where cars were easily 400 or 500 kilos lighter, so not factoring in things like Patrick Swayze having a battery pack to be electric, just in general the extra safety features, the different manufacturing methods where they were quite substantially lighter. Now the vehicles are even more death machines than what they were. Just to put it simply, for fuck's sake, don't. That is the biggest lesson in How to Drive. Just don't use any sort of mobile device whilst driving. Thank you for watching this episode.